Hello, everyone. Pepe Marola here, and welcome back again to Pepe Marola and Friends. But this time, I had so many great drummers and more to come after this one. But this one really has a special place in my heart because I love this gentleman that I'm about to introduce. I am one of his biggest fan. I've been following him for a very long time. He inspired me all the time. Every time I hear his music, his drumming, it's like, man, I want to do that. So anyway, the one and only, the great Dave Garibaldi, right here. Ciao, David.
A pleasure, Pepe. Thank you for having me, man. This is great.
I love this. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you perfectly. I hear you
Good,
fine.
good,
I hear you
good. We're
fine.
good.
So, David, how are you doing? Tell me something about you, which I know everything about you, but this period of time, since we are everybody, since we are everybody at home and always practicing, try to do something online. I see you also have an upcoming masterclass. We'll be talking about this because it's coming up, right, in the next couple of
Yes,
days.
yes. Friday. It's on Friday. Yes.
So, what's new? What's new?
Well, I'm like everyone else, trying to find something to do during all this time, because there's no touring. So I took I think when everything started in March, I think our last show was March 8th. So I took a little bit of time off, and then I realized, okay, this is not vacation. I'm going to have to find something to do. So I started practicing a lot, more than normal, and figuring out a
Tell
way
me.
to, figuring out a way for myself to go forward. So I started teaching. I'm doing, teaching sessions. Um, Started doing master classes. I've done quite a few of those now. That they've been pretty. It's pretty cool. And
Yeah,
staying busy. I have a book project that I'm kind of putting together. So
that's
there's a lot
wonderful.
of a lot of different things, but stay at home kind of work. No
Of
touring.
course, of course, of course. I completely understand. I am in the same boat
Yes,
practicing.
of course.
But thank God we got the drums, we got the music that keeps us busy. Can you believe if there would be no music for us, we would be in the house like miserable. That
No,
would be,
yeah,
you know.
no. I'm blessed, man. We're blessed people. It's a great thing. For sure.
Yes, definitely. So, Dave, as you know, I'm not an interviewer. I'm just a guy who loves music. I'm a drummer. I practice. I study drums. I play music, but I'm not an interviewer. But the idea to have those live streams, this show invite many great drummers and people that I know and personally and don't know personally, but that I know somehow is to give an opportunity to musicians from all over the world, people who knows me, people who knows for sure you and other, the other great drummers, to give them an opportunity to ask questions, to have, to say hi, to, if they have any questions, guys, if you have any questions, please do so. We would be happy to hear from you. David is a great, not only a great musician and a great drummer, but he's a wonderful, wonderful human being, and he's a great cat. So he would love to hear from you guys, I'm sure. I wrote down some questions, but as I
Sure.
said, I'm an interviewer.
No,
But
you're
so
doing fine. You're doing good.
thank you, thank you. That makes me feel good. um, Now, I have a list of questions, music questions about drumming, about drums, all that stuff. But first of all, I would like to start with something that I'm sure you have heard this question so many times. How David Garibaldi started it, what it was that it clicked in your mind, says, I'm going to be a drummer. That's what I'm going to be doing. And that's why that's, That's what he did. So, what it was, what how that happened, how Dave Garibaldi came about, why?
Well, as far as that goes, it started in school. As a little boy, 8 years old. The school band teacher, he comes around to the class, different classes, and he says, "Who wants to be in the band?" Of course, people raise their hands, and you get to, he asks you, "Well, what instrument do you want to play?" So by the time it got to me, I wanted to play. I said I wanted to be a trumpet player. I want to play trumpet, and
Oh,
so that by the time he got around to me, he said, "Well, we don't have any trumpets left. You're going to have to play the violin." I said,
oh
"Oh
my.
God." So I tried that for, of course. So I tried that for a little bit, and that didn't appeal to me at all. So a couple of years after that, I got that when I was 10 years old, I got the idea that I wanted to play drums. Don't ask me why that happened. It just seemed like something that would be great to try. I think it's because my parents were played a lot of music in the house that had drums in it. So I started playing drums then, and then drum set in high school.
Yeah,
I was 15 years old. Started with the drum set. Prior to that was marching band and the concert band and that kind of thing. And so 15 years old, started with the drum set, and then by the time I was 17, I was started making money playing. I wasn't very good yet. But I started making money playing, and then kind of when I first got the first job that I did where I got paid to play the drums, I realized, wow, this is pretty good. I can make money doing this, and so that got me really excited, and so just got more into things. Had my own bands, played in other people's bands, ended up in the military, still as a musician. So it's been music pretty much since I was a little boy, although
yeah,
I say I worked in a butcher shop for 6 months in high school, and that
yeah.
was pretty much it, as far as non-musical work. So it's, been music my whole life, basically.
Yes, that's beautiful. That happened to me too, thank God. But here we got Gabriele Pascale from north of Italy. Gabriele is a jazz drummer, and he's from Italy. Hi, Gabriele. Ciao. And then we got somebody else who's writing. I don't know if you can see Scott Kitt. Hello, Scott. Scott, where are you writing from? Where are you watching us from? Um, Also, let's see. And who was your favorite? I know there are many, many, many favorite drummers. It's hard to mention one, but what it really was, who are the drummers that inspired you? Because that's the question that I usually ask to many drummers that I like, all those great drummers. The first question that I ask is who you listen to?
Mm.
Who's your,
Yeah.
who inspired you? Like let's put it in that way.
Well, because of my age, the time that I came up in was the way that you learned still was in a more formal setting. There wasn't, my introduction to the music and the drums wasn't rock and roll like lots of people is. And so,
Yeah.
I was into, I got into playing jazz, because that's really that was kind of the highest thing that you could learn, really. If you wanted to play drum set, you want to be a jazz player. So I had that. I was learning that stuff. And of course, orchestral training, that, hand technique, those kind of things. Those were part of the way that I learned. And so, that affected me quite a bit. So when I started listening to rock and roll and started playing in rock and roll bands, I was still listening to jazz and all this other stuff. So I loved Count Basie and Woody Herman and, of course, Miles Davis. And so those things really influenced me a lot. And then, of course, Sly and the Family Stone, Gregory Rikowitz, Sly and the Family Stone, they were from here. So, they were like legendary here in the Bay Area. And so, Michael Shreve with Santana,
Greg Vigo is a wonderful guy. He's a dear friend of mine.
yeah,
I'm
he's
sure
great.
you know each other. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being. He's Yeah, he's a great drummer, man. Hold the Family
Oh yeah.
Stone. Oh,
There's like Zig with the meters, you know,
yeah.
Bernard Purdy. Believe it or not, we were Michael Shreve, Greg Rico, Lenny White, and Mike Clark. We meet together 3 times a week. We do Zoom calls every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We've
Oh,
been doing it. We've been doing it since this whole thing started, and so um, it's really fantastic because we all met here in the Bay Area in 1970, 71. You know, and
yeah.
so Lenny White came out here from New York. He was playing in the Bay Area here with Azteca and Joe Henderson and different people. I heard him out here with Chick for the first time. And,
Yeah.
of course, Mike Clark I met him right after I got out of the military. He's one of the first, him and Paul Jackson. I met those guys they were kind of the first people I met almost after leaving the military. And so, we've
Michael
been
used to
friends.
live, he used to live here in the Bay Area, right? And then he moved to New York many years ago. But he is from the
Yeah.
Bay Area. Is
Well,
that correct?
he lived here for a long time. Yes.
Okay. We got
Yes.
somebody here, I think, is asking us a question. What's your practice at your level? What is your practice at your level? Is it more about maintenance of expanding into new things, watching from Boca Raton? Oh, from Boca Raton, Florida.
Florida. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Scott, I do lots of different things. My level is not different than anybody else's level. I just work at things. And as I've worked at things, my work has kind of taken, given me the benefit of playing well. There's not a secret to this. And so I spend time every day with hand technique. I love technique. I study. Um, I work on maintaining, of course, my level of playing, which is not easy because I'm not playing with Tower right now. I'm not doing drum. So you kind of lose a little bit of your performance edge, but I work on new things all the time. I have a notebook of ideas that I keep. So I keep adding to that all the time. I'm like everybody else. And then if there's something of interest, I take a lesson. I call somebody up and I get a lesson from somebody. As a matter of fact, I took a lesson yesterday. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday with Thomas Lang. I wanted to understand some of his foot technique. So I
Yeah.
took a lesson and it was fantastic, But
Oh,
that's kind of the thing that that I do. I study with people, and then I build my playing from what I've learned from all of these people that I've studied with, and I get ideas all the time, and so I'm always building things.
that's that's a smart thing to do. That's a very good advice also for all the drummers out there. That's what that's the way it's supposed to be. I remember when I first came here, 1996, and I don't know if you remember this, Dave, but 1996, when I moved from Italy to, I came here first before I went to New York. Uh, but I came here first, and I met a drummer, a wonderful drummer. He's and you know him very well, actually. We became dear friends. We used to get together almost every week and just playing because he loves music. His name is George Marsh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and and George, we were practicing, technique, and I love technique. I've been, getting paranoid with the stuff, but I love it. So, and George Marsh was like, "Hey, man, you know what? You need to know. You need to meet Dave Garibaldi because he's the one. You got to meet him." In fact, I don't know if you remember, but I do remember because that was like a shock to me when I met you the very first time, 1997. At the time, you were teaching at this music store. I can't remember the name. World Music, World Drums,
Oh,
Drummer World.
drum world in San Francisco.
That's it. And I remember I came there with my wife. I took lesson from you one day, And that's, that was the deal. Why I came, I said, is it David Garibaldi live here in the Bay Area? And George Marsh was like, yeah, he's a friend of mine. And, for ear technique, you got to meet Dave Garibaldi. You got to go see him. And that was the reason why I said, wow, he lives in the Bay Area. So I called and we made research. At the time, I couldn't speak English. In fact, my wife was talking to you. I don't know if you remember that. And that's how I met you, through George Marsh. See, the same concept. It's like when you see somebody that's doing something interesting that you're interested in, pick up the phone, call him. Guys, that's very important. This is a great, it's a great tape. What Dave just said, that's what it is. That we learn from everyone, and we get inspired from everyone. This is something that's for sure. It's a sure deal. Somebody else is writing, I guess. Yes, I think so. Okay, no, that's Gabriela saying hello. What is some of your favorite recordings? I know there are many, but favorite recordings that drummers, you think, in your opinion, that drummers supposed to have?
Well, it depends on kind of the music that you want to listen to. I mean, the kind of music you like. I think roots music is really great stuff to understand, and there's those kind of, I don't know, landmark recordings in many, many styles. If you like kind of like the funky music, all the James Brown stuff, all the Meters, James Brown and the Meters. There's a really great recording, Howard Tate, with Bernard Purdie playing drums, and there's a song on there called "She's a Burglar," and that's a fabulous recording. Purdie's on there, Rick Marotta. That's a really, really great recording that a lot of people don't know about, but it's pretty epic. All the James Brown recordings, with Clyde Stubblefield, Jabbo. I got the feeling with Clyde Stubblefield. That was like 1968. All the Elvin and Tony stuff. I think you got to have that. You have to, any of it is great.
Wow.
There's a really great Maceo Parker recording called "Made by Maceo" that's really fantastic. So,
wow, this is wonderful. We got Barry Atchison. You know Barry Atchison?
I do not. Hello, Barry. How you doing, brother?
You know the great Bobby Hutchinson, vibraphone player?
Yes, Bobby Hutchinson, yes.
Okay, that's his son.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I'm
Barry,
honored. Oh, cool. Royalty. This is fantastic.
Bobby Hutchinson, he's world famous jazz vibraphone in the world. Neil Jackson, Bobby Hutchinson. But Barry, he's also a drummer. He loves drums. And he's always practicing. He's asking you a question, I guess. How did David discover his approach to funk drumming? Was it just from working with Tower Power or earlier influence?
All of it, Barry. So it was all of it. And so, funk drumming, kind of like, at least the way that here in the Bay Area that I learned, was that, we were kind of like, it was fusion before it was fusion. And so we were, putting different kinds of music together. All the drummers here were doing that. And, that's kind of how we assembled our playing around here in the Bay Area. So, Mike Clark is like that, Greg, all the guys. There was Gaylord Birch, another really great Bay Area drummer, Sandy McKee. All these guys at that time were kind of listening to lots of different kinds of music, and it would influence the way that everyone played. And so funk drumming, they call it funk drumming, but really, that's a pretty broad topic. I mean, because it encompasses so many different things, and it's kind of like it's like playing jazz, really, the way that you build it. It's not, you can use it in so many contexts, so that's what got me into it, was, just mixing all of that stuff, and I love beats. Beats really got me excited about playing the funk. I loved all that, you know, so I still do. So that kind of became the basis of my playing.
I agree with you 100% on this. In fact, your answer just, it's like linked me, I hyperlinked me to the next question, which
Okay.
very important question for this topic, for drummers, especially for drummers. Um, because it happened to me also when I, on my gigs. I used to, when I was younger, I used to play all I know. When you're young, you were, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I learned from my mistakes because I remember one time in New York City, the great George Coleman, great saxophone player, used to record and play the record with Miles Davis, actually, George Coleman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I was, excited to play with him for the very first time. And I remember George Coleman turns around and say, "Hey," just like that. And I was like, "Oh my goodness," you know. And he said, "Man, the most important thing in this music is the right symbol." He said, "All that stuff that you do, it's great, but it doesn't count if the right symbol is not there." And that was the greatest ever lesson I ever had in my
Yeah.
life. Yet no, that's coming from George
I
Coleman.
believe it. Sure, of course.
So I was like, I took it in a great way, in a good way. I said, "Thank you." Because I went home, I did my homework. Since then, I was like, okay, no more. I got to please the music. I was like, research. So, how important it is not to play all we know in order to make a groove, and please the music.
Well, if you let the music tell you how to play, then there's never going to be a problem. So,
Right.
and that just takes, some discipline and some understanding. You know, just because you know how to play something doesn't mean that you should play it all the time or any chance you get. So if you view music, your approach to music as like a blank canvas, that kind of tells you what you're going to, what you're going to do, what you're going to play. The music will always tell you. It's like conversation. So you and I are having a conversation right now, and we're listening to each other. And because we're listening to each other, we know how to respond. And so if we weren't listening to each other, I would just say something that made absolutely no sense because I wanted to say it. And it's the same thing that happens in a musical context. So you listen to the music and then you respond accordingly and appropriately. And sometimes that means, you have to think about what to say, or think about what to play so that it's appropriate for the situation.
Yes, yes, and it's also very important. Actually, I'm going to ask you this question: how important it is, you think, for any musician, can be a trumpet player, bass player, guitar player, not only practicing at home, but how important it is to play music with other musicians?
Well, it's a social act. Music is interactive. It's a collective sort of thing. You can play at home. You can have nice practice technique and all of the other stuff, but really how your music that you play is shaped is with others.
Yes, yes, that's when the interplaying and the maturity comes and the learning comes with others. You have this master class coming up. When is the date of your master class?
It's Friday and Saturday, and so it's Steve Workin has this thing called Drum Fantasy Camp, and so you're welcome, Scott. So as a Drum Fantasy Camp, and he's been asking me for years to do it, and Tower Power is always touring at the time because they do it at this time of year, late July into August, and so I've never been able to participate, but he asks me every year. So here we go. This year he asked, and of course I'm home. So, I'm able to do it. And this time, it's virtual. So it's 15 people, and we're going to talk about creativity and process. We're going to talk about how the creation process works, in your own practicing and your own playing and developing your voice as a player, kind of what it takes to put things together, how to practice. We're going to talk about my book, Future Sounds. We're going to get into that and talk about the concepts of that. I have a notebook that I work out of all the time that I'm always building that has my ideas and different things, different playing concepts. Just let's call it raw data. So
wow, that's beautiful.
Some of it is not completed, it's just ideas. And so I'm going to present some of that stuff, how to do that. We're going to talk about motivational stuff, mindset, because that's really important. Being a drummer is a lot more than paradiddles. I mean, you got to have your head in the right place so that you can have, you can get results. You can have great things happen in your playing career if you have your head in the right place. And so, that might be the most important part of drumming, is where your head's at. And then we're going to talk about hand technique, some of the things that I do, that I work on. So it's a lot of stuff. I mean, we're doing it for 2 days. I mean, the first class sold out. I said it was only 15 people, Zoom classes. So that one went right away. So we're doing a second one on Saturday. And so it's Friday and Saturday, I believe at 11 to 2 Pacific Standard Time. But I believe they're sold out already, which is kind of a good thing. It's kind of cool. So that's what it is.
Guys out there, check it out. That might be sold out, but check it out, because this is a great opportunity to be able to get together with one of the masters of his instrument, Dave Garibaldi, guys. We got other question here. I think Scott is asking a question. Let's see. You want to read it, or you want me to read it?
I'll read it. Okay, this is from Scott Keith again. It says, do you have any advice for the emotional journey of being a musician drummer? I tend to be very hard on myself when a mistake is made while performing. This is good. I can speak from personal experience on this, because I have dealt with a perfectionist sort of mentality, wanting to be perfect all the time. And perfectionism, really, if you think about it, is really impossible. And so perfectionism is probably the lowest standard that you can operate from, because you create unrealistic expectations for yourself. You want to develop your playing to a high degree of efficiency, and so that you can present your ideas in musical situations when you're called on to do so. You want to build your playing so that you have depth of vocabulary and it's musical. In order to do that, you have to look at yourself as a project. You can't be thinking that you're going to be perfect all the time, and if you make a mistake, that life is over, that you're not any good. Because all mistakes mean is that you made a mistake. It doesn't mean you're bad. It has nothing to do with that. Everyone is flawed. Everyone makes mistakes. That's the human condition. So you have to accept that as part of what we do. And so to beat yourself up when you make mistake, it's completely useless. Anger is poison. It's toxic. It keeps you from getting where you want to go. And so you can tell yourself that you can, or you can tell yourself that you can't. And you're right on both occasions. It's all in your belief system. What you tell yourself, what you allow yourself to think. And that is just something you work on all the time. Commitment is not something you do once. Commitment is every step. You take a step, and then you say, okay, I'm going to take another step. That's a commitment. Another step, you commit yourself to another step. And so playing and building your playing It's that. It's you make a commitment, you want to be better. So how do you do that? Well, then you get in and you just start working every day and every opportunity you have to improve what you do without the filter of all this judgment. You have to detach yourself from it, and you're not looking for results, because if you're focused on results, you're not going to have very much fun. If you look at it as a project and you get in and you just play and you discover, and there it is. When that's done, you move to the next thing and you build your playing that way. It's a step-by-step sort of a journey, and you just keep taking steps.
That's right. That's right. That's right. In fact, I was listening to what you're saying and analyze it, and at the end, I realized, well, this is true because, as you know, like sometimes it happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you, but I practice stuff, on the drums or on the, whatever, on my instrument, and I feel like, okay, I did the practicing stuff. I understood the sticking. I memorized the sticking. I orchestrated on the drum set. But then, for some reason, that specific exercise, etude, you know, uh, it doesn't come out naturally when I'm playing on my playing. Like if I'm playing the gig, I want to be able to play that without even thinking about it. So, in other words, to absorb musically, not only technically, but also musically, to make that exercise, that pattern, mine, that which is part of my drumming. Sometimes it takes me 6 months to a year for my brain to absorb that thing and make it mine and make it, and become part of my drumming without even thinking. Because sometimes when I think, okay, I'm gonna play this type of exercise, that's when I make a mistake, and that's when I suck. I don't know if that happens. I don't know if you agree or not, but that's how I feel.
Absolutely. That I find that when I work on new things that I want to use, I've found that it takes me about a year to be able to use it. And so what you're doing is you're learning vocabulary, and then you're learning how to use the vocabulary in your musical conversations. Just like when you study language and you want to be conversational, you're not that way at first. You learn how to do it. I mean, when you learn, language from your mama and papa, they taught you how to speak, and you could make little sounds. Well, drumming is the same way. You make little sounds, then you practice that. You keep doing it over and over and over. Pretty soon you're able to make a sound. Then you're able to say a word. Then you're able to say 2 words. Then you're able to say 3 words and eventually make a sentence to communicate yourself. How long does that take? And so music and drumming is exactly the same way. You described exactly what it is.
Yeah, definitely. So just like, and I realized that over, I'm 50 years old, so I'm still young,
Of course.
But we all are, because we play music. I'm 50 years old, but I feel like I'm 14. I'm always excited about anything, about anything in life, especially, music. When I hear something great, I feel like, whoa, I just feel like a little kid. No, I am. I swear.
I hear you. I understand.
I jump. Like, oh my goodness, I want to learn. I want to play that. But I realized that even studying some of the books, that we all know, I never really finished Stick Control, for example. I started Stick Control when I was 12. I did not finish that. Some people say, you did not finish that book. No, I did not. I did not finish that book because first of all, it will take, that book wouldn't, as you know, I don't think anyone can really say, I know that book inside out, because to me, the approach of knowing a book, like studying a method, I have to be able to absorb what I'm practicing. I don't want to go through the page. I can read, so I can read the whole book in a second, but doesn't mean I know that book. To me, the reason to practicing, to practice a book is to say, okay, I'm learning this, and I have to absorb that stuff, that I have to be able to use it musically through the music. I have to apply, at the music service, like I have to have that and get an understanding. Like some of the books, like Gary Chester, The New Breed, 59 Ways to Do That book. I only went through until like 14 or 15 ways. But, I've never finished that book because it's taken me all my life to be able to absorb. And then besides, when am I going to play all that stuff? I'll be always practicing, which motivates me. And it's a process. Our brain is like, hey man, you give me too much information, which is great. But at the same time, we are, me personally, that's what it, happens to me because we're all different. But to me, it takes time to really focus and not focus, but absorb that exercise. Because I think when I read a book, an exercise, when I'm learning something, I connect that specific pattern or whatever it is through notes, to music. I don't know if you know this. I set up, it's been already a week, but I set up my keyboard right next to my drums. I'm playing, I'm going like towards different things that it helps me to be a better drummer, So I set up my keyboard, try to apply different things, four-way coordination, try to learn how to move my fingers and the drums at the same time, which is very hard. But I am having so much fun and try to learn. Maybe in a year or 2 years from now, I'll be able to achieve my goal. Just the beginning.
Yeah, that's like Kenwood Denard. Kenwood Denard does that.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing stuff. You talk about stick control. I've owned stick control. I've had it in my library since I think I was 17. And so when I studied with Murray Spivak, the late, great Murray Spivak in Los Angeles, we went through the whole book. And so he had a concept that he taught out of the book. And the way that he presented it was that he was teaching us, all the students, all the different pressures that are associated with different kinds of strokes and how to recognize those pressures, and that it's all programmable and you can do that, change these pressures all the time. And so you recognize that pressure in different kinds of rudiments, different sticking ideas. So we went through the book with that in mind. And so I use it all the time still. I mean, I went through it. I kind of view going through it with him as like a milestone in my playing. It was one of the coolest musical things ever. I really felt a huge sense of accomplishment, going through it with him. And it was a fantastic thing, learning about motion and, sound and evenness and all these things that the book can teach. And so he approached it from an orchestral kind of a drummer. It was really great learning. So I use it all the time. Scott Keith says, a stick control on your music stand, you use it. Yeah, I use it all the time. Yeah, I use it all the time.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
George Lawrence Stone.
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's a lot of ways to apply it, lots of different ways. You can be very creative with it. You can, invent ways for yourself to use it. I think it's fantastic in that way. People that have a creative thinking can get a lot of really interesting personalization from it,
Yeah. In fact, I got to say, I'm going to ask you this question. I don't know, you might, it would be nice to give people who follow us right now, who are watching right now, maybe they watch later, because we're going live on Facebook and at the same time also on YouTube right now. And it will be available, this live stream will be available on YouTube tomorrow. So right now we
Oh, good.
live on YouTube, but it's going to
Oh,
be
great.
available by
Oh, cool.
tomorrow. Speaking of stick control, I know a couple few ways, that I practice stick control. Reading the exercise as a rhythm. First, play it, execute the exercise as a rhythm. Then with the Latin on the bottom, tunes to tunes to tune, and then execute the exercise on the snare. And then orchestrate that same exercise on the drum set. Then play 3 against 2 with the feet, tran, ta, da, da, tran, ta, da, da, tran, and then play as a rhythm, and then go double time without changing the feet.
Yes.
Just play double time on the top. Do you have another tip for our drummers out there who are following?
Well, not really. I mean, I don't really use it in that way. I use it with my hands, and that way you describe about doing it double time. There's an Alan Dawson way that he used to do it, where he would play it through as written, and then play the exercise again double time. So
Yes.
that's a really fantastic way to build, your chops, that kind
Yes.
of thing. So, I only use it for hands. I don't apply it to the drum set or anything like that. And if I do play it on the drum set, I'll do it with the snare drum, and I'll play the samba ostinato with my feet. But
Yeah.
as far as like drum set, I just kind of build my own sort of ideas and things like that. I don't really apply books to my playing in that way. What I
Mhm.
like about stick control is that I use it as ear training for evenness. I really like it for that, the very old school, traditional way, that it's used.
Yes, definitely. Without, even though the sticking changes, but try to keep the same sound on the drum and not let
Yeah.
people understand, okay, from double, he went to single, from double or whatever. Try to concentrate and focus on the sound, but changing the sticking. That's very hard, by the way.
So Murray had a way that he would teach where up and down strokes were, and rebounds and all of that stuff. And so he had a really kind of specific way that you would go through some of the exercises, and it was very, very helpful. It really helped you to relax. And so when I first started studying with him, I had developed lots of tension in my playing. And so when we first started working stick control, it was, I felt like I was sitting in a big chair with my feet up, relaxing. That was kind of the feeling of doing it. And getting your sticks to resonate on the pad. So if you can hear the sticks resonating while you're playing on the pad, your hands are relaxed enough to make that happen. And so that was something that, I had never really thought about, the tension in your hands, how that affects what's going on, So that was very eye-opening for me, So I use it in that way, in a very traditional sort of way.
No. I did that too, and I still do it nowadays. I was very lucky to, before he passed away, the great John Morello. He was a dear friend of mine. We used to hang out almost every week. Before, when I moved to New York City, before I went to the city to avoid the traffic, I used to leave my house like in the afternoon, and I stopped, in Irvington, New Jersey first to go see Joe and spend time with him at his house, with his wife, Jean. We had a great time for 10 years of my life. We were very good friends, and he was telling me a lot about George Lawrence Stone, the approach and how to practice. And Joe was really an inspiration to me, the way he approached that book, just like you said, the classical way. And George Lawrence Stone actually was teaching the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
same thing. Which what you said, it's like saying amen, Yeah. No, because afterwards you can do anything you want. But if you're missing the point of a book, then things could be different, could be rocky also. We got something else here. Let's see. I have another question for you before I let you go. I don't want to keep you behind the set and on the screen all the time. I know it's Sunday and then you're Italian. Sunday dinner is very important for Italians. So we gotta spend some time with the fam and then getting ready with some wine and put Dean Martin on and and have a good so but now here, what do you suggest, any tip to give to other, to the drummers that are following us right now, like how to be able to develop a nice groove, and how do you practice, once you have a groove in your mind, or you're reading or practicing a nice pattern, how do you practice and approach the groove, how to develop a nice and solid groove?
All right, so let me just play a little something here, and I'll give you an example.
Yada!
So I'm going to use. Can you hear these? I'm going to use these for a second. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I do is when I'm working on groove, I just practice it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So as an example, this is a crazy idea, but I really like the concept of odd times within 4/4. And so we don't have the benefit of time of going through the whole process, but an idea that I've been working on, and I couldn't do it at first, but I think I'm getting close to being able to do it now, is there's a 13-note phrase. This is it. So it's 4, 4, 5. So that's a 13-note phrase. That's what it sounds like when you put it together. So I'm thinking, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Beautiful.
So this is what I do. I take an idea like that, and I'll spend weeks on it, months, until I can play it at different tempos and not get lost, right? And then I'll play it. I'll take the same idea and I'll play it as triplets. So you think of it like, so this would be the way that I presented the idea to you was 13, 16. Mm-hmm. And so that 13, 16 in the context of 4/4, which is 16, 16.
Yeah.
So it takes 13 measures for it to repeat. So it's like a big cycle. Okay. So yes. I'll just do that over and over and over, and I'll practice counting along. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, like so. And I'll just do that until I'm really comfortable with it. And then I'll do different tempos, 2, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like so. And you just keep over and over and over. I'll play it along with the music. It doesn't even matter if the music fits. I just want to hear what it sounds like in relation to other musicians playing.
Of course.
And so then I'll take it and I'll turn it into triplets. So I'll take that same idea, that's 13 notes. So I have 13 eighth notes. And that's eighth note triplets like you do in the Afro-Cuban kind of like 6, 8, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You have this. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll go back and forth between the 16th notes and the triplets until I can feel the thread of this.
Yeah. The
So, yes. And so in order to do that, I have to count and really lock myself into counting. And once I do that, once I understand the counting process, that's like a compass. You head out onto, the road with your GPS, and there's all this things that going on, but the GPS shows you which way north is.
Yeah. No. This is very inspiring, guys. This is beautiful, man. And again, I want to remind all of you guys, he got a master class coming up. Besides, he teaches online. I mean, no, that's the truth. Eventually, once all this pandemic that we can go out and go see friends or go see people, I am going to come and take lessons from you. I will come to your place and really take lessons and get some, take notes, because there's stuff that you do that I love, and it's very important to me to see the way, in person, to me, to see the way you pull the sound out of the instrument, which is very, I think that's very hard. That's the hard part. Like I was able to, one thing is listen to a record, like when I hear Art Blakey, or when I hear Elvin Jones, or when I hear, A.T., Art Taylor, I can analyze the rhythm of what they're doing. But then, when you see them alive, and playing in person, you realize, okay, that's how you got that sound. That's how you can pull that type of sound out of the instrument, and it happened to me many times. I described like a rhythm of of Alvin, or Jimmy Cobb, which I had the pleasure to meet, and knowing Mickey Rooker, same thing. Mickey, I saw him playing, and we were friends for a very long time. But once I see them playing and the way they approach the instrument and the sound, to me it was like it opened up a new world. So, and I would love to eventually, when we can do that, when COVID is gone, or when we have I'm gonna really bother you and call you and call you.
I would say this too, Pepe, in closing, that I would encourage everyone out there, all the drummers who are here listening today, to use your imagination, to assemble your playing without see what you can put together without watching a video of someone. And the reason I say that is because when I was coming up, there wasn't video. There was records, and that was it. And so when you would listen to your favorite drummers, you wouldn't see what they were doing. You could only hear it. You could only imagine it. And so we were putting together our playing based on what we were hearing on the recordings. Not
Yeah.
and if you got a chance to see them play, that was great. But that wasn't such an easy thing to do because they were, unless they would come to your town, right? You couldn't see them. And so the only people that you got together with were your friends. In my case, Mike Clark, all those guys. So we were using our imagination. We were watching each other play. We were sharing ideas, but we weren't sounding like each other. We were sounding like ourselves. And when you listen to Elvin and Tony and Purdy and all those guys that have a personalization in their playing, they have a sound, they have a voice, they have a signature. You get that from using your imagination.
That's true.
So that's what I would encourage people to do is think about it like your handwriting. It's yours. So you develop it and you use it.
Yeah. So, Dave, I know that you also have some books out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and can you please tell us the name of them and where can people purchase your books and DVDs or
Well, the books are available. You can get them through Hudson Music. They have the Alfred catalog, Alfred Publishing. You could get them on Amazon. I mean, there's all kind of ways to get the books. There's Future Sounds, the Funky Beat, Off the Record, which is transcriptions of Tower Power stuff. There's Breaking the Code, which is a DVD and a book, and that's play along Tower stuff. There was Tower of Groove, which was a videos series that I did for DCI Drummers Collective. What else? There's Talking Drums has 2 books and a video. We had a really great video, and kind of like a trilogy. 3 books, 2 books and a video. Tiempo and Timba Funk, and then the Talking Drums video or DVD. Really good stuff. So, there's that. I'm working on something new, but, there's a lot of articles that I've done, and, you can find those around,
Yeah, so guys, check it out. Dave's book, man. I have his books here in my I don't want to say it because but I do have his book, and they're just amazing. And then you also have some -1 as well with one of the books, because I find some -1 music with the drums and without the drums. Is that correct?
Yes. The one called Breaking the Code, or
Yeah.
the Code of Funk, that has like play along tracks from the Tower Power Oakland Zone recording.
So guys, check that one out. And plus, remember, Friday and Saturday, Dave's going to have a beautiful, great masterclass. He's going to be talking about a lot of great topics that I'm sure all of us can get some stuff out of that. Really good information, and that's a must to go. Must to go. So, Dave, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being my guest.
Maestro, thank you for having me.
You know how much I love and respect you, and best to the family. And
Thank
keep
you.
on inspiring. Thank you. And keep on inspiring all of us with your beautiful drumming. And you're the best.
Ciao, Pepe.
Ciao, Dave. That was the great Dave Garibaldi, ladies and gentlemen. And it was a great live video, a great show. We talk about some great topics, great information. Check him out. He got a masterclass coming up Friday and Saturday. He also teaches online. So all the books, Dave's book, you can get it from Amazon, like he said, and Handsome Music. So thank you very much for following. My name is Pepe Merola. Keep drumming, because music, drumming is life. Okay? Thank you very much for following. We love you all, and I'll see you next time. Actually, Tuesday with the great Benito Gonzalez, great pianist from New York City, dear friend of mine. We played many gigs together. He's also played with a lot of people, Pharrell Sanders, Kenny Garrett. He's a wonderful musician. So this coming, I think it's Wednesday, this coming Wednesday with Benito Gonzalez, Pepe Merola and friends. Thank you, Dave Garibaldi. Much love to you all. Pepe Merola. Bye now. Ciao. Follow me on this page, on Pepe Merola fan page. Also on YouTube. Check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe. There's a lot of videos there for you guys to check out. Love you all.